Hey there everybody. So, the 60-degree bowl gouge. This is a video I've been trying to get right, trying to figure out the best way to do it now for a few weeks. It's too much information to try to jam into a really long video that everybody's just gonna skip past. So I thought I will do it in small bits. So first I'm gonna show and explain why I use it to do the first step in all my bowl turning, or anybody's bowl turning, is roughing out this shape. The 60-degree gouge gives you this really lovely long edge to work with, so you've got this huge cutting edge that you can remove massive amounts of wood with very quickly. So that's where I'm going to start this today. I will do subsequent videos with the same gouge here as time allows to sort of go over just how versatile this gouge is. If I had only one gouge in my shop, this would be it. Not the specific brand, but the 60-degree grind. It's just so versatile. It isn't the best for push cuts in the outside of bowls. I think a 40-degree-ish grind is a lot better choice. It'll cut a lot cleaner, but this will do everything. So with that said, I'm gonna rough out this blank. I'll show it from a few different angles and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. And something to always keep in mind when you're turning is that you're putting your pressure down onto this tool rest, not necessarily into the wood. Yes, you're presenting the tool to wood, but you're not pushing the tool into the wood. And you also want to use more than just your hands and arms. So you'll see where I lock this gouge to my body for the most part, and I will use my body as part of the tool, basically. So that said, let's get started. Okay, so for roughing out a bowl with the 60-degree grind, you start with tool handle a little bit low. So if you're doing a push cut with this tool, it's designed to cut with the tool parallel to the ground, basically. But if you're roughing, rules don't necessarily matter as much. You're not worried about a really clean cut, or you're not worried at all about a clean cut off the gouge. It's really about removing as much material as possible, as quickly as you can, to get down to that shape that you're looking for before you start doing refined cuts. So pressure down to the tool rest, not against the bowl. So I'll show this from a few different angles. Also notice that once these bark spots are gone, and if this blank was not as round as it is, I'm thankful that I have a sawmill and a bandsaw, so I end up with really nice paralleled rounded off blanks, but not always the case. So start slow. Tool down, face is relatively open. All right, I think this is a better angle to see it at. So the handle, which you can't see, is down at my hip, and it's kind of anchored to my hip. You can control how much wood you're gonna take by rolling this gouge. So if I'm a real closed face, like I am there, it's gonna almost become a scraper. And as I roll it open, it's gonna remove more and more wood. So once again, pressure down to the tool rest and now you can watch. So if I go from closed faced, where I'm just taking a little off, and I'll roll it open, taking more and more, and it will self-feed. It's sort of like a controlled catch when you're roughing out like this. You don't really have to push at all. You just have to keep enough pressure there that it'll start self-feeding. It's really amazing just how effortless this is when you get this right, how much material you can move without really any physical effort whatsoever. So I'm gonna do a slow motion video. Hopefully it will help see the mechanics of how this is cutting and working. And something else to keep in mind, I know that I've mentioned this before, it's especially important when you're roughing out a bowl. I am always very careful about turning questionable wood. So, you know, if anybody has followed me for any length of time, you'll know that I much prefer a full, nice, straight grained log, you know, not burls, not wood that's full of cracks and defects. I don't like getting hit with stuff, and I just like, for me personally, I like to work with wood that allows me to make it into what I want versus having to work around a bunch of defects, issues. You know, maybe defects isn't the right word. You know, as a wood turner, I'm a bit of an oddity. I don't like burls generally. I just much prefer straight grain wood without defects, and it just so happens that that wood is safer to use. The chance of having anything come flying off any of the blanks that I turn is slim and none, other than, you know, a few chunks of bark. If there's anything questionable, I toss it into a different pile to reprocess for spindle blanks or something else. That said, I always keep myself out of the line of fire until I've gotten to the point where I am from foot to rim completely clear. I can look the blank over and see, yeah, there's no ring shake, there's no defects that I didn't see the first time around. So if there were to be something that would come off of this blank while I'm turning it, it would go in front of me or behind me. It's not going to hit me. I'm not here in the line of fire. I'm generally behind the line of fire. So, you know, the whole way through, you know, like I said, this gouge does not make the best push cut gouge. It will do it. I'll show you here. So the finish off the gouge with a push cut from this is not going to be super clean, but you won't have a ton of tear out as long as you're not trying to take too big of a bite. So well, honestly, in this wood, it's not so bad. That would be a reasonably passable cut. See back here, oops, there we go. When I'm not using a bevel rubbing cut, there's a significant amount of tear out. Doesn't matter, that's gonna get turned away anyhow. Out here, it's actually not terrible. There's pretty clean severs of the wood fiber. It will do a push cut just fine. In my opinion, 40 to 45 degree grind is much better for that cut, but if you only have one gouge, it's a good place to start. So that pretty much covers the outside of a bowl with a rough out cut and a push cut. Next up in this series, my favorite use for this gouge is shear scraping and variations of that. So I'll go through how you can utilize this entire edge and get everything from super delicate fine shavings to slightly more where you can refine the shape of your bowl, not just the shape but the finish off of the gouge. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, catch part 2 of this, and yeah, until then everybody, take care.